Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Thank you for joining me. Today I was going to take you through how I paint my dominant hand with my non-dominant hand. So for me, I'm right-handed, so painting my right hand with my left can be a little tricky, but I've learned a few tips along the way, so I thought I'd share those with you and hopefully they will be of help. So the first thing I would suggest is to make sure you have everything ready before you start. Now you can't see it, but to my left I have everything I need. So I've got my base coat handy, I've got my colours that I'm going to use. I've got two colours that I'm using today. I've got a Blue Sky 80531, which is a lovely charcoal grey, and I have an Elite 99 number 352, which is a glitter-based gel. I was also going to show you how to apply some crystals using your non-dominant hand, so I have those ready to go. So you can see I've popped them into a lid of a jar, but I've also made sure that they're the right way up, so I'm not having to fight with them when I come to actually apply them. I've got some isopropyl alcohol in a dappen dish, which is ready to go, and I have my clean-up brush ready to go as well, and my cuticle pusher. Pretty much everything I need is ready to go. I also have all of that stuff on my left-hand side, so given that I'm going to be working with my left hand, I've got everything within easy reach, and my lamp is on my right-hand side because I'll be curing my right hand. So just make sure you've got everything where you need it, so you're not having to cross over your hands all the time and cause yourself a bit of extra grief and frustration. The other thing you need to do is make sure you've given yourself enough room to work. So I hope that there's enough light for you to see this video. Normally I do my videos in my little photo booth, but that's a very cramped little space that doesn't give me enough room to do my non-dominant hand with. Sorry, to paint with my non-dominant hand. If I'm painting my left hand, I can paint like this without any problems in a cramped space. I can't do that on my dominant hand because my left hand just is not coordinated enough. So I need to make sure I give myself enough room to work. The other thing I would say, or another tip I would give you, is to actually paint your dominant hand first. Now, as you can see, I'm doing my nails today. I haven't done my left hand yet. There's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, you're a lot quicker painting your non-dominant hand, and it's a lot easier. It comes to you more readily. So concentration is always at its greatest when you first start something. Think about going to a meeting or a lecture or school, whatever it is that you're doing. Your concentration is always at its peak at the beginning. After about 45 minutes to an hour, your mind starts to wander. So by then I'll hopefully be onto my left hand, and that won't be so much of an issue. So I'll be giving the greatest concentration when I'm actually painting with my non-dominant hand, which is great. So I've actually already done my base coat on here today, my preparation and my base coat, and that's simply because it's going to be a bit harder for you to see me applying base coat onto clear nails. So I was just going to start doing with my colour coat. The next tip I would give you is make sure that both your hands are stable when you're painting. So as I said before, I can't paint with my hands up in the air, with my non-dominant hand floating around. You have no control, or very little control, when you paint like that. So make sure that my right hand, my dominant hand, is resting on a wrist rest, and my left hand can rest on here as well as I'm painting. So make sure that you have little amounts of polish on your brush. If you have too much on your brush, then you're likely to flood your cuticles, and clean up is always that much more difficult when you're doing it with your non-dominant hand. So just do thin coats and move your dominant hand about as you go. Okay, there's actually nothing stopping you from moving this hand to assist you in your painting. Move it round. I turn it round on certain angles so I can see where I'm painting, what angle I'm on, because that just makes it a little bit easier for you. Your hand moves, so just let it go with you and make your life a little bit easier. And just go slowly, okay? There's no hurry doing this. Don't expect that you're going to be as quick painting your dominant hand as you are your non-dominant hand, because you're just not, unless you're lucky enough to be ambidextrous, which I certainly am not, then it's going to be that much slower and I have to concentrate that much more. But that's fine. If that's what your expectation is and you're aware of that, then just go with it and allocate yourself that time. Now, as you can see, when I've done the edge, all I do is I dip my cleanup brush in my isopropyl alcohol, drain it off on a bit of paper towel so that it's not sopping wet, and I just go around the cuticle to give it that nice round edge. As you can see, I'm resting my fingers on my hand, so I have full control over this brush at this stage. If I was doing it like this, it's that much harder and your hand's less stable, a bit more likely to wobble. So I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to move on to my next finger. And again, just start in the middle of the nail and just gently push back to the cuticle and then pull forward. And now I'm actually taking any excess polish off my brush so that I don't flood my cuticles. Now when you come to the side, as I said, I'll move my dominant hand around so that I can see the side. But I'm also going to concentrate just on the side of the brush that's going along this side wall. I don't need to concentrate on this side of the brush because that's in the middle of my nail and it's not going to be brushing up against any side walls or cuticles or doing any damage. So I'm simply watching the brush on the side of the nail that I'm going down, and that way you get a nice crisp line down the side and you're less likely to run into the side walls. Again, I'm just taking the excess polish off my brush and then coming down this side wall, following the same process, just looking, keeping an eye on that side of the brush that's coming down the side of that nail. So it is a lot slower doing your dominant hand. I think, to be honest, that's to be expected. I've watched plenty of nail videos on YouTube, and everyone pretty much says the same thing. So, like I said, unless you're lucky enough to be ambidextrous, that's just the way that it's going to be when you're painting your dominant hand with your non-dominant hand. So just allocate yourself that time. Don't give yourself any time pressure. And just slowly go around the nail. As you can see, I hit the cuticle just then with my colour, so that's fine. I'll come back in with my clean-up brush in just a second and get that. The beauty with gel polish, of course, is that it doesn't cure until you actually put it in the lamp. So I have as much time as I want to go back and clean that up. So I'm just going to try and get the rest of the nail looking how I want it. And then I'll come back in, I'll dip my brush in my isopropyl alcohol, dab it on a piece of paper towel, and just go around that cuticle and wipe that little bit of gel polish that I got around the cuticle area. And there's a little bit there as well. Okay, so they're not looking too bad, so I'll just do my index finger now. I'm sorry if you can hear that noise, that's my dog licking her paw in the background. Okay, now I'm just removing that excess polish from my brush and coming around to do the last section of the nail, concentrating on that side wall. Now the first coat of colour is the most important because it's going to set you up for your next coat. When you do your second or third coat of colour, however many you're doing, you just follow the lines of your first coat. So you really need to make sure that your first coat of colour is, you're happy with it. You're happy with the lines, you're happy with the edge, the cuticle, you're not touching the skin, all those kinds of things, because your second coat will simply follow your first coat. So I'm just going to come around here and clean up that edge. Okay, now I'm pretty happy with those, so I'm just going to pop those in the lamp. Now Blue Sky Polish does say to cure for 30 seconds. I'm actually going to cure this for 60 seconds simply because it's a dark colour. I always cure dark colours, so blacks, reds, greys, for extra time just to make sure that they are fully cured. So I'll do that and then I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. That has now cured for 60 seconds in my lamp. So I'm just going to come in with my second coat of this colour. And basically follow the exact same principles that we did for the first coat. So thin coats of colour, wipe off any excess polish in between, and then just move your finger around so that you can see and get a good line on where you're polishing. Okay, now this is my second coat, so I am going to cap the free edge of these nails. Okay. Okay, so just dipping into my polish. Going around the side walls. That concentration on the side walls is actually a very helpful tip. I can't remember whose video I was watching when they originally suggested that, and it made the world of difference to me when I started to do that, because I used to watch the entire brush and I thought that makes perfect sense, because really it's just down that side wall that you need to focus on. The rest of the brush is down the center of the nail, so it's fine. And again, carefully around that cuticle line. And again, with gel polish, you've got as much time as you need to get the polish just how you want it. And of course, if you do mess up your coat of polish, it's absolutely fine, because you can just simply take some isopropyl alcohol, remove that coat, and you're not having to start again or anything, because the previous cured coats will remain. So that's the beauty of gel polish. You can take as long as you need to, and if it does mess up, just remove it before you cure it, and then you're all good to start that layer again, and it's all good. Whereas of course, if you're using normal polish, if you get polish remover to your nail, you've got to start the entire nail again. So that's one of the definite advantages of gel polish. And again, carefully around that cuticle line. Oh, looks like I've got a hair there, which I need to get rid of. Not sure where that came from. Okay, and just around that cuticle, that side wall. And again, I'm just removing the excess polish from my brush. With the darker colours in particular, you want to do really thin layers. If your layers are too thick, then the polish will literally wrinkle. And in that case, you do have to remove it and start again. I've never found a way to salvage that. It's a particular problem with the blacks and any dark colours. Okay, so again, I've got a little bit of colour touching that skin there. So I'll just come in with my brush, dipped in isopropyl alcohol, and clean that up. So again, make sure you're resting your hand. Oh, sorry, I'm out of frame there. Make sure you're resting your hand with the brush on your other hand, and that gives you that stability. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to pop that in the lamp for a further 60 seconds. And just while they're finishing curing, I just wanted to give another suggestion with nail art. When you're painting your dominant hand, keep your nail art simple. When I first started doing my nails, and I saw all these wonderful nail art examples and people doing freehand drawing and everything, and I was getting so frustrated because I would try and do it on my right hand, and of course it would end up looking like a disaster. And then I suddenly thought, you know, I'm no Michelangelo with my right hand, so why on earth I would think I'd be able to freehand draw on my nails, which are a tiny canvas, with my non-dominant hand. I just suddenly realized my expectations were just a little out of control. So then I decided to focus on what I could do. And you know, there's a whole world out there that is quite easy to do with your non-dominant hand. So things like glitter. You can use a gel glitter, which I'm about to show you on 2 of my nails, or a glitter gel rather, which is just chunks of glitter in a gel polish, or you can use loose glitter, and there's thousands of types of loose glitter. There's just, you know, small, large, chunky, non-chunky, fine, iridescent, holographic, metallic, just tons of them. So that's a really good a good thing to use for nail art on your dominant hand. Stamping plates and polishes, another thing. Crystals and rhinestones, which I'm about to show you as well. I'm about to put some crystals on 2 of my nails. Water decals. If you want something a bit more of an intricate design, use water decals. You can make your own decals as well. Dotting tools. You can do fantastic dotticures or dot manicures with those. I've got a video on that if you want to see how I've done that. Foils, striping tape, all of these things are relatively easy to master using your non-dominant hand as opposed to freehand nail art, which is very, very difficult. So what I'm going to do now is I've just got a bit of base coat, which I don't know if you can see just in here, that I've decanted onto this plate or palette, and I'm just going to put my dotting tool in that and put a dot in the middle of my little fingernail at the cuticle, because I'm going to put a crystal in there, which is just a little Swarovski crystal. So again, this is quite, relatively simple to do with your non-dominant hand. So I'm just going to pick up my crystal picker-upper tool and pop that right in the center of that base gel. Now you can use base gel, you can use builder gel. You just need to use a relatively thick gel doing this. Don't use Topcoat or something quite thin. Use a thick gel. I'm just pushing that down into the gel, and I'm just going to flash cure that, which basically means I'm going to pop it in my lamp for about 10 seconds, just to secure that in place while I do the other one. So again, I'm just going to dip my dotting tool into my base gel and put a dollop near the cuticle. Put a little bit more. Okay. And again, because I have everything ready to go, it's just easy for me at this point. I'm just picking up the crystal that's sitting the right way round, ready for me to pick it up and put it on my nail. If you don't have everything ready to go, especially when you're doing your dominant hand, it means that you're going to be fiddling around in drawers, cupboards, looking for nail art tools or polishes or whatever it is with your non-dominant hand, which generally, in my case at least, leads to a fair bit of frustration. Okay, so I've got 2 crystals applied. As you can see, I've just done them in the center of each nail. Again, if your non-dominant hand is resting on something quite stable, it's relatively easy to do, and as you can see, it's pretty. It still looks very nice. Now I could put multiple on there. I don't want to. I'm happy with just one, and then I'm going to put a little bit of glitter in a gradient on the other 2 nails. So I'm going to place the glitter around the cuticle area and concentrate at the top of the nail. Some of the glitter onto the nail. I'm just wiping off the polish a little bit so I don't have too much on the brush. And I'm just going to gently, very gently fade that down the nail. Okay, now I'm going to cure that in my lamp for 30 seconds. So just while that's curing, just something else to bear in mind when you're painting your dominant hand, make sure you allow yourself sufficient time. And when I say that, I mean allow more time than when you're painting your non-dominant hand. So for the sake of even numbers, let's say it takes you 30 minutes to paint your non-dominant hand with your dominant hand. It's not realistic to think it's going to take you 30 minutes to do the other way around, to paint your non-dominant hand. To paint with your non-dominant hand, sorry. It is going to take you, I would argue, significantly longer. So if it takes you 30 minutes to do paint your non-dominant hand, I'd allocate about 45 to paint your dominant hand, because that allows sufficient time. You're not going to be stressing, and it just sort of, acknowledges the fact that it is going to take you longer, just because you're painting with your non-dominant hand, and none of us are as coordinated with our non-dominant hand, unless, like I said, you are lucky enough to be ambidextrous, which I certainly am not. Okay, so I've just done another little extra bit of the glitter polish. I'm just doing a very, very light touch because I just want it around the cuticle area and just to lightly fade down the nail. So I'm going to pop that back in my lamp for 30 seconds and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm just going to put just a third little light layer on here. When I say light, I'm barely touching my nail with this brush, which you can probably see because it's not like a lot is coming out off onto the nail. Because again, you don't want your cuticle area to be too thick with the polish. Sorry, I'm out of frame. Okay, I'm leaning quite a bit further forward than I normally would be doing my nails to try and get on the camera, which is, again, it's tricky with your non-dominant hand. Now, these little bits of glitter have gone too far down the nail for my liking, but I want them, so I'm just going to push them back up the nail. And again, this is the beauty of gel polish. You can be doing this up until the point that it's cured. I'm quite happy with that other hand. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the lamp for a final cure for 30 seconds. Okay, so that's all done. My nails are all cured. I've got my 2 gradient glitter nails and I've got my 2 nails with a crystal on them, and I'm happy with those. So now I'm just going to apply the top coat. Again, I'm not sure how well you're going to see this because it's just a clear coat, but I thought, well, I'll show you while I'm here. So I'm using the Blue Sky No Wipe top coat. Now this goes up to the crystals, not over the crystals, because you will dull the shine of Swarovski crystals if you apply top coat over the top of them. So we just want to come around the sides. You want to go up to the crystal because it will also give you a little bit of extra support around that crystal. And of course you want to cap the free edge as always on your layer of top coat. Now I am just going to grab a dotting tool and take a little bit of the top coat onto my dotting tool. Actually that side's going to be too thick, so I'll take the other side, which is a bit thinner, and go round the back of the gem with the top coat lining up to the cuticle because I can't get in there with the brush. Now of course this is a self-leveling gel, so just apply it around the cuticle and then just give it a few seconds to settle itself and you'll be good to go. Now of course it is difficult to do that without actually getting the cuticle, so once again I'm going to take my trusty cleanup brush dipped in my isopropyl alcohol and just go around that very edge. Again, I've got it in my hand being supported, either resting on my other hand or in this case resting against my wrist rest. Either will do the job, and it gives you that extra stability, because if I left that bit of top coat there, then the nails would lift. Okay. Now these 2 nails with the glitter polish, I can just do top coat straight over the top. Again, keeping an eye on that side wall and not worrying about what the brush is doing in the middle of your nail, because it's not going to run into anything. So you can see when I do these nails, if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll see I work a lot quicker when I'm working on my non-dominant hand, and that's just natural. So as I was saying, just allow yourself that extra time and just be aware that it will take you longer and that you're not alone. We're all in the same basket, so it's all good. Okay. Okay, now sometimes what I do, if I don't think I've gone around the edges, I just grab an orange wood stick and I just go around just in case, because especially with the clear coats, your base coat and your top coat, it can be difficult to see if you have touched the edges. I don't think I did, I didn't feel like I did, but yeah, just to be sure, I just go around with a cuticle stick. And again, up to the stone, but not over the stone. Again, I'm wiping the excess polish off my brush because this top coat is relatively thick, so I don't want it pooling. And as I did before, I'm going to pick up my dotting tool. I'm going to dip it in the top coat, swap hands and just lightly go round behind my stone. Now, as you can see, I don't know if you can see that on camera, I did just get my cuticle, which is fine, so I'll come around with my brush. And again, just let that self-level. Okay, so you can see I've got, it's not quite a bubble, I'm not quite sure what that is there. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm just going to grab my dotting tool because it's up near my cuticle and just try and even that out. I hope I'm on camera shot here. Yeah, that got it. Okay, so just going to go around here, my cuticle stick, and we are good to go. So that's in the lamp for 30 seconds. This Blue Sky No Wipe top coat is a 30-second cure. So I hope that video has been helpful for you today. Some of the main things just to keep in mind are just have realistic expectations when you're painting your dominant hand. It will take you a bit longer, you will be slower, and you just need to concentrate a bit more. So do that hand first, take your time, have your clean-up brush ready to go with your isopropyl alcohol. So if you hit your skin or anything like that, it's no problem. You just clean it up as you go along. Have everything ready to go on the correct side of you. So have your lamp on the side of your dominant hand and have everything else you're using on the side of your non-dominant hand. And yes, it means you need to swap over when you come to do your hands, but it literally takes you about 20 seconds. It's no big deal. So there we go. Those 4 nails are done. I'm going to do my thumb now and my other hand. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.